I love Pakistan. I will sacrifice my life for Pakistan.
This week in the world, Denmark has issued a fart tax, Coca-Cola is using AI to make ads now, and Razal Khan has finally gone to jail. Starting with, Labour has made its first big step since winning the general election earlier this year, that being taxing the rich more. The sitting government has made plans known to increase inheritance tax nationwide. Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor of Esquire, which is a stupid-ass British way of saying the head of tax, has announced changes to the current exemptions from ITH with the upcoming budget as of April 2026. As a general rule of thumb within the UK, an estate must pay tax on assets worth more than £325,000, with anything above that threshold being charged up to 40%. For literally always, I think since the early 80s, farmers have been exempt from that rule. As quite simply put, with no farmers, there's no economy to begin with. But Keir Starmer's party have decided that those greedy sods who make our food can't keep getting away with it, and are now being charged 20% after £1 million worth of land and or assets. Basically, if I was a farmer sitting on £5 million worth of land and farming related assets, in order to pass down those assets to my children, I would have to pay nearly £800,000 in tax. In other words, farmers will be forced to sell parts of their land in order to cover inheritance tax. Or alternatively, they can dance naked in their field and pray to the gods that they get enough yield for that year in order to cover this incredible expenditure, at the same time hoping that that crop that they grew doesn't have a global influx, meaning that their crop loses a shitload of work. I can't stress this enough, dude. Farmers are rich when farmers are rich, but farmers are poor when they're poor, which happens all the time. Due to the fact that farming is such a fluctuating business model, meaning that 1 or 2 bad seasons could literally bankrupt your family home, it is an extremely risky industry. The farmers that have done well over years could all of a sudden face bankruptcy for elements that are completely out of their control. Not to mention that those assets aren't the same as cash in hand value. Like a family-owned farm, assets as well as land could be worth £20 million, but the dickhead who's running it could literally have 2 pennies to run together if he was lucky. I mean, I understand Labour's thinking, I really do. The idea is to affect chain farmland owned by corporations, basically like the McDonald's of that industry, but this law will inevitably force family-owned farms, who've accumulated their wealth through decades of experience and handing it down, to sell off vast acres of their hard-earned land. Farmers, for their part, are currently protesting in London, or at least they were travelling down as of the writing of the video, with an estimate of 10,000 to 40,000 said to picket Downing Street and let their voices be heard. Labour has indicated, however, they have absolutely zero intention of changing their minds, so we'll just wait and see. It appears that Mr. Zelensky has finally gotten his wish.
Hello, Biden. It's Zelensky. We need 5 billion rockets to bomb Donetsk children.
For the better part of a year now, President Zelensky has been begging Biden for permission to utilize long-range American missiles against Russia. Biden, rightfully so, had refused, fearing an escalation of America's involvement in their proxy war with what is basically now the new USSR, but it seems that that fear no longer burdens him. Possibly due to the fact that he is soon to be the former president, or the possibility that Russia's already escalated events by utilizing North Korean troops in this Russian war. No matter the cause, he has given Ukraine the green light to utilize these bad boys, which are popularly known as ACM, which do have a funny name but are anything but, as these long-range ballistic missiles have an explosion force of 500 pounds and is capable of going Mach 3 while being guided by GPS to more accurately find its target. Even more scarily for the Russians, these things are incredibly hard to shoot down, due to their incredibly high speed and the fact that they're able to change paths depending on the object blocking it. Although we don't know exactly how many Ukraine have in their possession, we know they have enough to do quite a bit of damage if Biden feels this is worth a gamble. Coupled with the fact, as of today, he has also allowed Ukraine to start using mines provided by the US against Russian and North Korean forces. So clearly he feels the escalation is worth the risk. But the man is also a cough away from death, so he probably just doesn't care. With 2 AI stories on the sheet, one good and one bad, I'd figured I'd treat this like my youth and get the punishment before my treat. My time spent in the box may not have been as advanced as AI Granny, but they both serve a purpose of wasting time. Meet Daisy, a fully automated granny designed to waste scam callers' time, created by the O2 network, which is a British telephone communication company. Daisy's aim is to make Mr. Pajit's life a living hell by leading him down a rabbit hole for as long as she can. She's designed to ask questions often and repeatedly, and overall just to act like a confused pensioner. The company O2, as of right now, has claimed Daisy's record was a whole 40 minutes of infuriating a would-be scam artist, and they've also reported Daisy is capable of engaging multiple clients at once. Of course, it's only a matter of time before this fake scam granny gets called by a fake scam caller and the AI battle ensues, but for the time being you can smile about this. Now for bad AI. Coke is now officially the first major brand to start cutting costs in advertising by utilizing AI technology, releasing their first fully AI commercial, which is meant to capture one of their classic Christmas 1995 commercials. The company, who already has a global AI head of marketing, might I add, sent a spokesperson out with this following message. The Coca-Cola company has celebrated a long history of capturing magic of holidays in content, film, events, and retail activations for decades around the globe. We are always exploring new ways to connect with consumers and experiment with different approaches. This year, we have crafted a film through a collaboration of human storytellers and the power of generative AI. Coca-Cola will always remain dedicated to creating the highest level of work at the intersection of human creativity and technology, which is just corporate talk for, yeah, bro, we really don't care. That's finna be happening, cuz I'm very confident that as soon as the tech gets to a point where, you know, even humans aren't needed for it anymore, nobody's gonna get paid a dime. As is typical with these types of stories, artists and regular folk are engaging their outrage through Twitter. The most prominent of all being Gravity Falls creator Alex Hirsch, stating, "Fun fact, Coca-Cola is red because it's made from the blood of out-of-work artists." Look, I'm gonna keep it a $150 with you. As someone who is actively currently studying graphic design and is set to finish their course in 3 years, I don't give a whack. Artists and illustrators were all too happy to gloat when manual labor jobs went out of the window and replaced by robots, but now that us creative types are on the firing line, it's panic station, as they all smugly thought that they were irreplaceable. And no, I'm sorry, you're getting a little bit of that pie creamed on your face. I mean, like, I've always been of the opinion that corpos treat people like jobbies, used as much as they can be and then tossed to the side. So I've always said all you can really do is adapt. In a blast from the past, which is what I call it when I shoot rope, Razzle Khan has finally received her punishment. Those who need reminding, Razzle was the rapper and crypto magnate who alongside her husband laundered stolen assets from the Bitfinex hack in 2016, making the pair extremely wealthy. The bizarreness of it all is Razzle, whose real name is Heather Morgan, was by all accounts quite the dweeb, which was publicly visible to see through her TikTok and her rap career. It was like somebody brought the essence of the characters from Broad City or just the show Broad City to life. Just that like really lame cringe nature. Point being, she wasn't exactly some kind of criminal mastermind, but rather a corny white nerd who somehow alongside her partner was a part of, I think at the time at least, one of the biggest cyber crimes of all time. I mean, these two were washing nearly 11 billion in stolen assets and at the same time doing shit like this.
Who got coronavirus? Who got coronavirus? Who?
It was jarring. Anywho, Heather was handed down an 18-month sentence for her role in the operation, which really isn't that bad if you consider the severity of her crime, and I also doubt very much that she will serve her entire sentence and more than likely will get out for, you know, good behavior. Do you remember this?
What is that? It's the end.
Of course you do, because nobody could have escaped the Wonka a couple months ago. Every single YouTuber, podcaster, and news anchor was chatting about it after the disastrous execution of the event. Well, good news. The guy behind it is now a registered sex offender. Billy Cole was apparently found guilty of abusive behavior after he kept sending unwanted sex to an unnamed woman. According to Cole, he was apparently so messed up in the head after the international mockery, he couldn't think straight, hence his actions of, quote, pursuing his prey, as he affectionately referred to the victim. With one message even stating, "I am the wolf and you are my prey." Cole would not relent his pursuit in spite of being asked to and would carry on messaging her on any platform she was a part of, landing him a lovely sentence of 120 hours of community service, as well a year of supervision. I really didn't even know this could be a crime, dude. In yet another story involving farmers, which is incredibly odd to have two in 1 week, Danes have decided in 2030 their local food providers will also see an increase in tax relating to cow farts. Denmark has decided to introduce the flatulence tax in the hopes of curbing greenhouse emissions relating to farm livestock. Every ton of methane produced by their livestock, farmers will be charged 300 kroner, or in real money terms £54, pre-inflation in the upcoming years, of course. The hope is to improve Denmark's biodiversity and return some of its natural beauty, with this measure being put into place after statistics have shown farm emissions have steadily gone up over the years. The problem arises when you start adding a cost onto the people who produce your food, as I've already stated, when in reality these emissions are the government's failure, as the farmers are only trying to meet the demands of the people. It just seems a bit unfair to me. In more influencer news that I really don't want to cover, but I am a journalist after all, Jake Paul, best known for being the little brother of Logan Paul, is still on the boxing trend, and apparently recently fought convicted rapist Mike Tyson, hosted by a Netflix special event where the two sparred for a total of 2 minutes of 8 rounds, with Luigi coming out on top based on score. It is worth remembering that Tyson is 58 years old, whereas discount Paul is the age of 27, meaning he was at a major advantage no matter how good of shape that you were in or how big of a legacy you do have. I won't pretend to care about boxing and go into further stats because objectively boxing is like a little bit above cricket in terms of entertainment value, but I will say they both cleared an extremely hefty bag for their efforts, as Tyson apparently walked away from the spectacle with 20 million, and the lad whose name I already forgot, and I'm not even joking, walked away with 40 million. I swear to God this guy has to be the luckiest human alive, or one of the smartest, because both him and his brother realized they were incredibly unlikable and were smart enough to lean into that arc to cash their way to the top. In our final story, speaking of his brother, Logan is in the news for also being a heel, but in a very odd way. As I saw this video pop up onto my feed from the BBC News Network, that puzzled me, to put it lightly, as apparently they were investigating his crypto scams, and it perplexed me, as I was pretty confident that this was like a year-old news. But the story was more about how Logan hired a body double to go to his BBC interview over his scamming ways. And yeah, whatever, dude, I won't waste your time by going into heavy detail over his crypto scams. Coffeezilla has an incredible documentary explaining it in great detail. So for the sake of both of us, go watch that. And with that being said, that's all in this week. I want to say a big thank you as always, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.